In this video, I'll take you through how I changed the spark plugs on my 2006 Toyota Land Cruiser. To start, I'll remove the engine cover. There are 2 bolts and 2 nuts. They're all 10 millimeters and the torque spec is 66 inch-pounds. To remove the airbox, there are 4 clips here and 1 connector. Then we have 3 hoses to remove and 2 10 millimeter bolts. Those are 66 inch-pounds, and that clasp is 10 millimeters and 66 inch-pounds as well. I'll go ahead and remove these 4 connectors. This tool I'm using I found on eBay from Kyoto, and it makes removing the connectors a lot easier. Sometimes you can get hung up on those and spend way too much time. These bolts are 10 millimeters as well, 66 inch-pounds as well. I'll go ahead and remove those coils. To remove the spark plug, I'm using a 5/8 inch socket or 16 millimeters and a short extension on that. Here's a look at the spark plug after 30,000 miles. And the torque spec is 13 foot-pounds. I'll put the spark plug back in by hand just to make sure there's no chance of cross-threading it. Removing the other 3 spark plugs is identical. The only difference is using a shorter or longer extension depending on what you need. And the passenger side is the easier side, so stick around and I'll show you a couple of tricks on the driver's side, but you can see I'm orienting my ratchet differently and using a different length of extension just depending on what happens to be in my way there. And finishing up on this side, I'll fasten the 4 bolts, and those are again 66 inch-pounds. Reconnect the 4 connectors, and then I'll transition over to the driver's side. Now on the driver's side, the first thing you need to do is remove this bracket. Those are 10 millimeters, 66 inch-pounds, just like almost everything else, except for this bolt, which is 12 millimeters and 13 foot-pounds. With that off, now kind of the same deal as we did on the other side, removing the bolt on the coils. And I just wanted to show you this swivel-headed socket that I've been using. I just have a 10, a 12, and a 14 millimeter, and it makes a lot of these projects easier, especially in this case with this tight angle. Yeah, I've done this a few times and it's still a bit of a struggle, but I'm just using both of my extensions and that swivel head, and then I can kind of reach back there and get the bolt off. Removing the connectors. And that last coil is, of course, the hardest one to remove. So I'll show you what works for me here. So first, I'm just getting that bracket kind of pulled up and out of the way, making sure all those fuel hoses are out of the way. And then the trick that I found that works for me is you just need to rotate that coil 180 degrees counterclockwise. And so I'll kind of get it unseated here and then work on rotating it. And once that coil is rotated, there should be enough flexibility in the AC line to push that out of the way and then pull the coil out. And it's still a little bit of a struggle even though I've done this a couple times, but definitely easier now than it was the first time I did this. This is the best way that I've found to remove that coil, but if anyone else has tips or tricks, definitely leave it down in the comments for others. In these last few shots, I'll just highlight that one, again, it's super helpful to have a variety of extensions and swiveling heads for this job. You can see that I'm constantly trading off between different lengths of extensions. And last, I found it easiest to remove the back spark plug by going underneath the fuel lines with my electric impact there. That angle seemed to work well for me. And finally, when torquing that spark plug, this angle worked well for me. The only cautionary note is that hose to my right is the fuel line, which is connected to a metal outlet. So I would recommend just being a little cautious as you're torquing that. And that's it. The last thing I'm doing is reattaching this bracket. Again, like everything, 10 millimeters, 66 inch-pounds, and that top one, 12 millimeter and 13 foot-pounds. And that's it. I hope these tips and tricks helped you guys out and you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.